Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast. My name is Victor Vasquez. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode where we journey into talking about a new movie that we got to check out in theaters or in streaming. I'll break down my pros and cons, give you my favorite moments, my favorite performances. I'll even recommend whether you should watch this or skip it. And then at the end of the podcast, I give one final note, which is basically, is this movie timeless for me? Is it something that I could rewatch over and over again and it could stand the test of time and be added to my movie collection? Before we talk about this week's movie, though, I did want to highlight that on all platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, you can now listen to episode number 106 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. I actually have my really good friend Ryan Saw join me to talk about The Substance. That movie was one that I didn't get a chance to actually check out in theaters, so I thought I'd do a little bit of a catch up. And man, what a movie it was. So if you have seen The Substance and you want to hear me and Ryan's thoughts, go check out episode 106. That way you can see what you agree or disagree with, and let me know in the comments or leave a review on the podcast and let me know your thoughts about The Substance and about the podcast episode overall. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in to episode 107, in which we are talking about Strange Darling. I'm doing another catch up movie in which I did not see Strange Darling in 2024. So I thought, you know what? There's not a new movie coming out in 2025 just yet. So let me go ahead and rewatch this one, or really watch it for the first time and see what my initial thoughts are. And man, I'm excited to talk about this one. I had not seen any trailers for it. I had only heard really great things about it. I kept hearing people say, don't watch any trailers, don't watch anything or read anything about this movie. Just go in with a fresh mind and you're just going to be in for a wild and crazy ride. So, I mean, after The Substance that I talked about last week, I mean, that was a crazy experience that I had. I couldn't wait to watch Strange Darling. So, again, that's really my background. I didn't read anything other than it's just a mystery type of a film, thriller, horror. That's all I really know about it. So let's go ahead and give you my overall thoughts. All right, after I checked out Strange Darling, I gotta say that this movie is fantastic. I was blown away at how much I really enjoyed this movie and how it all played out. If I could give you a quick highlight as to some of the reasons why I loved it, is simply the fact the way that this film is broken out. It is broken out into 6 different chapters, but each chapter is told in a non-linear order. So it's not all chronologically. You start off with chapter 3, then jump over to 1, then you're kind of moving all around the story. And I love it when stories are able to bamboozle me. And this one got me really bad. Especially knowing how I am when I'm watching a movie, especially when it comes to thrillers and mysteries. I'm trying to figure it out as an audience member to see, okay, can I use my brains to figure out what the heck is going to happen at the end of this movie? Sometimes I'm right. 95% of the time I'm wrong. Maybe that's too low. 99% of the time I'm wrong. And so I really enjoyed that I was wrong about this one to a certain extent. I'll talk a little bit later about what I was able to kind of eventually figure out. But just the way that this movie is taking you on a journey where you're following these characters, everything about it is very interesting. And again, the reason why it's so engaging is because of the story and how it's being told in out of order chapters. It actually forces the audience to really pay attention and keep up with, well, here's this character, where are they doing, what were their actions? Oh wait, he was acting in a certain way in chapter 3, but now he's acting a different way in chapter 1. What changed? So everything about that of the story is really the highlight of the film, but it's what's the strongest aspect of what makes Strange Darling so good. Another aspect I really wanted to highlight was the pace. The film is really only an hour and 37 minutes. It's very quick, but again, every chapter just moves and adds an additional detail, and it just feels like it never overstays its welcome, which is always a great pleasure when you're watching a movie. You never want to hit those points where something just feels like it's dragging on too long or it just takes you out of the experience. So, really enjoyed that it was nicely paced throughout the entire film. Like I said before, me being able to just keep up with all these details, that each chapter just adding more color to the film, just made me enjoy that experience much more. I don't want to spoil too much in regards to what is happening in the story. I definitely agree with other people that I've heard that have reviewed and talked about the movie for Strange Darling. It's really best that you just walk in and watch this movie and this story play out without having to know any details about it. So that's going to be my biggest recommendation. And to give you a synopsis, again, this synopsis is going to be very quick. I don't want to give you too much detail because I want you to experience it yourself. But if I could set the story up in some type of a way, this basically kicks off with a character named the Lady. She's basically running away from this other character named the Demon, and they just opens up with them in a car chase. They're both driving cars. The lady is scared. She's bruised up. She has blood on her ear, and you're just out of sorts because you don't know what the heck is going on. Why is she running away? What is this guy that's called the Demon? What is he doing? Why does he want to take her out? What is the whole purpose of this? And that's basically how the story kicks off. The car chase eventually ends up with the lady having to kind of ditch the car. She almost gets run over by the Demon in his truck. She eventually finds a way to get out of the car's way, run into the forest, and escape. And that's basically where the story kind of just kicks off. She ends up finding a house that has an older couple living there, and she just asks for help, like, please help me, please. And then that's where the chapter ends. That's all I'm going to say. Again, I know that's not really a lot of detail, especially if you're on the fence about checking this one out. But overall, I thought Strange Darling was a awesome movie to check out. If you have a chance to check this out in streaming, my recommendation would be you definitely have to watch this movie. If you are into horror type of movies, if you're into thrillers and mysteries and trying to figure out as like an audience member, like, okay, what maybe this person did this, or why is this person doing that, or oh, I picked up this in this chapter. If you like those types of stories and you like seeing things play out on the screen and trying to see if your theories are right, I definitely recommend this movie for you. If you're not into that kind of stuff, or if you're not into more of like the horror and things of like serial killers, then you can stay away from this movie. But for all those that really enjoy thrillers and horrors, definitely recommend you guys find a streaming service and rent this movie or stream it if you can. All right, with all that, now let's go ahead and start spoiling a little bit more details of Strange Darling. Again, if you have not seen it and you plan to, please jump out of the video, watch the movie. I highly recommend it. Then come back. That way you can hear some of my pros and cons and a little bit more spoiler stuff in regards to what I thought in regards to Strange Darling. Okay, hopefully that gives you guys enough time. Let's go ahead and jump in and start spoiling some stuff with my first pro. First pro, super easy. It's going to be the structure of the story. The way that they were able to, and again, credit to the director and also the writer in TJ Molnar, he just developed a great idea of being able to set up a story where it has various different chapters and it's trying to walk you through of like, hey, here's different phases of what's going to happen between these two characters, the demon and the lady, but they're all out of order. It gave me serious vibes of like Kill Bill Volume 1 or Memento, where these films that their stories are played in a non-linear fashion, and it again, it forces the audience to have to pay attention. It forces you to have to make sure that you're noticing small details, either by performances of the actors or the setting that they're in, or just different things that are being said in the dialogue. And I love that. I love those types of movies that just really put it on the audience to, hey, if your enjoyment is going to be based on whether you can follow this story along. And I freaking loved it. The way that they structured all the chapters, again, giving you little tidbits here and there, it then starts changing and it kind of flipping your opinions on your theories. Again, you start raising questions of your own in a positive way. You also see like consequences of like, okay, this is something that's happening in chapter 3. Then you see the setup in chapter 1, and you're like, oh, okay, this is why they're dealing or going through the car chase in chapter 3. So all this stuff about the structure of the story, again, it's an obvious pro, but I still want to call it out because it's just so well done in this movie. Some of the questions that I started thinking up in regards to Strange Darling was, okay, well, why is the lady bleeding? You know, she has her left ear is just completely bleeding. Like, what the heck happened? Why is she bruised up? And then you see the demon character, and you're like, okay, well, what does he want to do to this lady? Like, why does he want to kill her? What did she do? What is their past? What's their relationship? And all of these different types of details start kind of adding more color to the picture that you're trying to see. So the structure, alone is one of the biggest reasons why I want people to check this out. There's a couple of other pros that I'm going to highlight, but really, it's this non-linear fashion of telling a story that is just incredible, and I thought they nailed it in Strange Darling. One other thing that I want to add to what made my appreciation of Strange Darling so big and like why I enjoyed it so much is I feel like it also, the structure of the story helped out with the performances that the actors were able to pull off. So, Willa Fitzgerald, who plays the lady, Cal Gallner actually plays the demon. These are the two main actors in which you're seeing the whole story play out between these two characters. There's a couple of other side characters that are there, but it's mostly these two that are interacting in some ways. At the beginning, you immediately look at the demon, you see his name as the demon, and you're like, okay, what's this guy's deal? Is he the serial killer? What's wrong with him? Why does he want to do this to the lady? And then as the chapters start playing out, that's where your mind starts making up questions. And then the performances also feel like they change. By the end, in chapter 6, you might be on Kyle Gallner's character side. You might be on the demon side. You're like, well, you know what? This guy's actually trying to do the right thing. He's trying to take down this lady for what she's done. And so all this different stuff. So I feel like I really wanted to highlight that the performances by Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gallner, they completely shift as you get more story, as you get more details of what their characters are going through. And again, you don't get that at the beginning because you're barely trying to understand, well, what are these characters going through? So really love that aspect of how the story is able to even change and show off a different side of these performances. And it's something that I can't wait to kind of rewatch and see if I can pick up on as well. All right, second pro for me about Strange Darling is going to be certain choices that were made within the film that I picked up on that I really enjoyed. They're small details, nothing too crazy, but I want to start off by certain scenes that were colored for the lady. I really enjoyed how they were able to kind of choose these colors to represent the different sides of Willa Fitzgerald's The Lady. So at the beginning, or at least at the beginning of chapter 1, you see these initial setup of how the demon and the lady get to meet. They basically are looking to have some fun, a one night stand, and they go to a little hotel and they park right in front of a blue hotel sign. It's neon blue, and you see those colors, and it's just straight blue reflecting off of the skin of the lady. In that specific scene where she's talking to Kyle Gallner's character, you start to then kind of see her, I guess, the side that she's trying to show the demon character. She's trying to show him that she's, not innocent, but in ways she's very playful. She wants to, like, looking for to have some fun. She's open to trying these different types of things and role play. And she just seems very open to a lot of different ideas. And again, very unassuming. You just seem like a woman that just wants to have a little bit of fun. Then there's a choice that's made where after you start getting to know more of the lady's character, there's a specific part in, I want to say it's maybe like chapter 2, where now you have the lady be under a red light in the bathroom. She's in a bathroom sitting down, and she's already done some certain actions that obviously change your opinion on her, but now she's under a red light and now she's more sinister. She's not playful anymore. She's very much scheming and thinking about what is the next thing that she's going to do to Kyle Gallner's character in this film. So really love the choice of highlighting those kind of colors for the same character, and how colors themselves can also change the perspective that you might have on a character. Sometimes it's as simple as, oh yeah, it's just the way that their face, whatever facial expressions they're doing to portray that emotion. But in this case, not only was it Willa Fitzgerald's performance, but it was also the colors that they were able to use for her character. So I really like that. Another thing that I want to say in regards to the choice made by JT Molnar and the team for this film is the way that they didn't focus too much on the lady's condition of, what she was seeing in regards to the decisions she was making. So spoiler warning again for folks that have not seen it, but in the movie, the lady is actually the serial killer. It is not Kyle Gallner's character of the demon. So again, they flip and they subvert your expectations, and they eventually show you that no, it's actually Willa Fitzgerald's the lady that is the serial killer that is just on the loose. And one of the specific scenes at the end of the movie, they show the lady basically explain what she sees, and she's kind of like talking to a cop, and she's saying, I don't sometimes I don't see humans. Sometimes I just see devils. And when I see them, I have no other choice but to, take them out. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, not quoting the actual scene, but that specific scene like explains a lot because there's certain moments, and it's just, I think twice they show it in the movie. There's certain moments where you see the lady staring at the character that is named the demon, which is Cal Gallner's character, and she's looking at him. They look like they're about to get very intimate, and then for a very split second, you see an image pop up on the screen, and it goes away. And it's dark. It was red. You don't know what it was. But after you find out in the epilogue that she sees demons or she sees devils, that's what she basically was trying to represent, and that's what that little flash image comes up. That happens twice. Once when she's looking at the demon, and the second time when she's looking at herself through a car mirror. And so, really cool and an awesome idea to not show exactly what that image looked like. I think it works very well in this film because they just want you to show a flash image so that you have a context in your mind of like, okay, well, what the hell was that? Was it a real demon? Was it just some type of a figure? And again, it makes you think as an audience member, like, what the heck is going on in her brain? And so I really enjoy that choice of don't just show what the devil might look like for the lady character. Rather, just let it up to be the imagination of the audience. So really appreciated that kind of a detail. Very small, I know, but really enjoy that they just kind of did a flash image that it kind of scares you a little bit as like, what the heck was that? And then it also makes you think by the end of that movie of like, oh, okay, that's what she was seeing. She was seeing devils, and when she saw devils, then she immediately went into this mode of wanting to kill them. At least that's what she saw. So really enjoyed that aspect of it. And then finally, the last aspect that I want to call out is the music that they use in the film. Once again, another part that plays into subverting your expectations. At the beginning of the movie, they start with chapter 3, and again, you see a character named the demon, and you immediately think, okay, well, this guy is the evilness, the sinister motive that is going to really play this film with something dark, and you're hoping that it doesn't hurt the lady because again, at the beginning, you're on her side. You really connect with her. And then what they add to that at the beginning is this very ominous music. For every time Kyle Gallner's character comes out on screen as the demon, you hear just like a doom doom, and then like that's it. Like, and I'm pretty sure again, I'm not doing the exact sound that comes out of the movie, so apologies. But again, it's a very distinct ominous sound that's very dark and very loud. And again, in your mind, when you hear that watching a horror movie, you immediately think, okay, well, this is the theme of this monster, this creature, this being that we just don't understand. And again, it sets you up, making you think that the demon is actually the serial killer, when in reality, it is completely not the demon at all. So that little aspect of the music, again, subverting my expectations, was really awesome. I love that. There was also some songs that were played throughout the movie, like either on a radio or something of that nature. Like one of the songs is like "Love Hurts." I really liked how they added that type of music into the type of situations that the characters were in, because it also not only added like to the eeriness of it, but also correlated with what might be happening in that specific scene. So again, shout out to the music and the way that they were able to kind of add those types of elements to again subvert your expectations and to add more tension and suspense to the film. All right, those are my pros. I did only have one small con. It's a small nitpick. Again, this is not does not take away from my experience of Strange Darling, but if I did have to point one small little detail out is in the final scene of the movie, what ends up happening is that the lady, she ends up getting shot. So she ends up eventually meeting her end, but that specific scene as she gets shot lasts for a long, long time. Now, you know me. Again, when I notice certain things that start dragging, it could be a con, it could be a negative. In this case, I just felt like the scene just lasted a little bit too much when in regards to like, okay, well, why are we sticking with this character of the lady for so long as she got shot? But I completely understand why they would do that. The decision, at least in my mind and my interpretation, is that they want you to show like the fear of the lady not wanting to die, because she even has a moment in her dialogue where she says, I'm not afraid of jail, but I'm afraid of dying. And so I completely understand why they wanted to stick with her character for like the last couple of minutes of the film, seeing her trying to push through and not die after being shot. Again, to me, just a little long, just a tad bit too much that we were focusing on her. I would have liked it a little bit quicker, but again, very small nitpick. Did not take me away from this film at all. But that's really it. That's my only con. That's all I got in regards to negatives in this film. It's just a very small nitpick. Now I want to kind of bring it back to some of my favorite things and end on a positive note for Strange Darling. Let's start off with favorite performance. Like I mentioned, Kyle Gallner and Willa Fitzgerald are two main characters in Strange Darling. And if I had to choose one, I'm going to go with Willa Fitzgerald as the lady. She did an incredible job because, once again, at the beginning of the movie, you immediately want to support her because she's running away. She's in distress. She feels like she needs help. And when you see a character like that in a movie, your immediate thought is, okay, well, she's got to find a way to escape. She's got to get away from this guy that's just crazy. But then as the chapters go along, you start to realize that she's just playing an act. She's just a psychopath that is trying to manipulate people based on certain situations. And you see that in the movie. Eventually, by chapter 6, towards the end, and the epilogue, you see how she's able to treat and manipulate people's emotions, making them think that, like, hey, she's a victim. And then she completely turns it around and ends up taking out a lot of people. So her performance, Willa Fitzgerald, was incredible. And she was scary by the end of the movie. At the beginning, again, you just see her running away. She looks scared. But by the end, she has the same face. She has the same type of reactions. All she has is maybe like a little blood on her chin, but she looks so freaking terrifying and she looks like a true monster, like a true serial killer. And it is unbelievable how she was able to transform and give off those different types of looks and playing the same character, but again, showing off different sides of the lady. So really enjoyed that performance overall. So Willa Fitzgerald is my favorite performance in Strange Darling. Favorite moment, I got to call out a moment that I got bamboozled. It happened in the epilogue towards the end. There is a moment where the electric lady, that's basically her name in this film, as you know, the serial killer name of the electric lady, she ends up getting in the back of a police car. She's able to really manipulate these cops and let her be taken by them so that she can be protected. And it seems like she's going to get away, and then all of a sudden on the street you just see a old lady named Genevieve. She actually was wanting to help the lady, but instead Genevieve ends up running away after the lady ends up killing her husband. And so after that happens, you never see Genevieve again until the end of the film. And at that moment, I was like, oh, yes, okay. Genevieve is going to point out, she's going to notice the lady, and she's going to tell the cops that she is the killer and they need to arrest her. And as soon as she looks to the back of the cop car and she sees the lady, she's so in shock that, like, okay, I can't believe I'm looking at the lady that just killed my husband. And right when she's about to say something, she gets shot right in the head. And it just caught me so off guard. It really just knocked the energy out of me. I was like, no way. That was really our only hope and get her to be arrested by these cops. Instead, she ends up getting shot and dies, and the lady ends up escaping once again. So it was just ridiculous stuff. Again, and I really enjoyed that scene because it bamboozled me. It set me up for, oh, okay, the epilogue is that she actually gets caught. No, instead, Genevieve, another character that you thought was going to survive, was just basically taken out. So really good stuff. But again, I really enjoy when a movie can just completely fool me on what's going to happen. All right, and then last but not least is the favorite shot of the movie. I kind of teased this a little bit in one of my pros, but the scene where you have the lady in the bathroom under a red light is just so cool. It looks so freaking scary again because that's when you start seeing her true side, who she really is. And you see the red just kind of cover her whole body. And then you just see again the sinister look that she has in her face and the way that she's just, again, very menacing, very scary. And you wouldn't picture that when you first saw the chapter roll when you started the film. But that would probably be my favorite shot, is when the lady is in the restroom under the red light. All right, everybody, those are my full thoughts of me breaking down Strange Darling. I really enjoyed this film, but now here comes the tough question. Is Strange Darling timeless? Is it something that I could rewatch over and over again in order to enjoy it and even add it to my movie collection? Really tough decision that I got to make. I really enjoy this film. Again, even the con that I had was very small. It was something that I can completely forget about if I wanted to rewatch it. And so I'm going to say it. I think Strange Darling is a timeless movie. This film it's just so good in regards to how it just sets you up. But I think what the advantage of it, of being able to rewatch it, is that even though I already know what's going to happen, because the story is told out of order, it helps you just to kind of to figure out, okay, like, oh, now that I know that she's the serial killer, let me see how she tries to play off these performances at the beginning at chapter 3. Or let me see what, Cal Gallner's character, the demon, let's see how he acts to see like why he looks so evil at the beginning. It makes you want to rewatch it to try to see if you can pick up on some of those details, the performances and things of that nature. And so again, the benefit of this movie is that it's played out of order, which again makes it so easy to rewatch because there might be certain details that you may have forgot as you were trying to follow along the story. Also, it helps that it's an hour and 37 minutes. It's a very easy watch and it's always engaging. You always have something to pay attention to on screen. So that is going to be my choice, guys. Strange Darling, because of the story, how it's being told, the certain choices that are made by the characters, the colors, the music, all this stuff just opens it up for a movie that I would definitely want to rewatch. I would recommend to friends, and I would want more people to try to, at least figure out like what the heck this movie's about. So that is going to be my choice. But who cares what I think? What about you guys? Have you gotten a chance to see Strange Darling? Did you enjoy the experience of this out of order story? Let me know in the comments below. Leave a review for the podcast. That way we can interact and talk more about Strange Darling. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to episode number 107 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. My name is Victor Vasquez. Thank you so much for listening all the way through and hearing my thoughts. Make sure to check out next week's episode as we start covering some of the new films that are coming out for 2025. All right, guys. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you guys later.